College football playoffs coming up. We're going to be in the Rose Bowl, New Year's Day, Bama versus Michigan, and we're going to do the prediction for the game next week. But just some early thoughts that you guys wanted and asked about. And I think this game will be in J.J. McCarthy's hands. Honestly, I think Alabama will try and put it in his hands. And if you're Michigan, if you got a veteran quarterback, if you got a guy who is sort of the face of your team, who else's hands would you want the game in, right? So I think it'll strangely be a game that is in the perceived wheelhouse of both teams. So that's where I want to start with you. His last 4 games, you're going to hear this stat a lot. Most of you, if you follow the sport closely, you're already aware of J.J. McCarthy and his relatively pedestrian passing statistics in their final 4 games. He had 60 against Penn State. We were at that game. He had 141 against Maryland, 148 against Ohio State, and 147 against Iowa. I think I should remind you, they went 4-0 in those games. So J.J. McCarthy and that offense did what they needed to do to win games. The follow-up question, of course, should be, was that effort or is that effort going to be good enough against Alabama? How many points do you need to score? How many points does Michigan need to score to beat Alabama? It's classic line of scrimmage game. I think that's what most football-minded people are looking forward to seeing. You got an offensive line in Ann Arbor that fancies themselves the best in the country. And you got an offensive line in Tuscaloosa who folks like me and Kublik sat here in August and said may be the best in the country and were very, very subpar early in the year. And then all of a sudden you watch them against Georgia, and it's as good as Alabama's offensive line looked all year. Just blew Georgia off the ball, played by far their best overall football. So they're peaking at the right time. And so you got that offensive line comparative analysis. And then you've also got a pass rusher like Dallas Turner, maybe the likes of which they haven't seen. You've got J.J. McCarthy going up against a couple of corners that are about as good as he's seen, but I'm really interested in the line of scrimmage. I'm interested in it because I just saw what Bama did to Georgia. And let me tell you, having the vantage point I had was pretty glaring. Not something I expected necessarily, but pretty glaring when you're looking, if you can line up right there on the ball and you watch the line of scrimmage get reestablished, you don't have to be able to break the game down at a fundamental level like some of these dudes who have chalk under their fingernails and they've been at it for 30 years. When you see that, doesn't matter if it's your first day ever watching this sport, you probably realize that team is taking that team and doing whatever they want with them physically. It probably behooves this team to do that. You're going to do that against Michigan? Is Michigan going to do that against Alabama? Michigan's defense does not give up explosive plays. It's what Alabama has feasted on all year. Now, Bama's gotten theirs against pretty much everyone. They didn't against Georgia. Milroe did not have a pass go for more than 30 yards against Georgia, and they still got the job done. That's how good they were at the line of scrimmage. But that Milroe effect, having to defend this part, if you're watching on YouTube, that part where the play breaks down and he still gets a first down, not even to mention the designed runs that they started to utilize with him a lot more starting in that game, actually the Tennessee game. Michigan hasn't faced anything like that. Notice I'm not saying Michigan can't handle it. I'm saying Michigan hasn't had to because they haven't faced a player like that all year. I think Michigan's got to get this game, man. Michigan fans know it. It's both fair and unfair that it sometimes comes down to that. But Ryan Day's been sparkling, and yet he's getting judged based on what he's done in one game. Well, Harbaugh and this team have been sparkling all year. But if they lose in a semifinal game again, if he goes to 0-3 in college football playoff semifinal games, it was a great season. But you guys got here the last 2 years. You got to get further than just a semifinal game. And you're a short favorite, and you get it teed up. You played them 2 years ago, and Bama ran a score up on you at the very end of the game, and you get another shot, and it's a playoff game, and you got a veteran-laden team here, and you got your head coach back, and it's in the Rose Bowl. Everything's in front of you. Harbaugh's 1-6 in bowl games. He's 1-6 in postseason at Michigan. It's got to be now, because if not now, I'm not saying they're never going to be there again. I'm saying, statistically speaking, when is Michigan going to have a better shot at this thing than they do right now? Conversely, Saban's 9-3 in college football playoff games. It's amazing, almost beyond description, that he's got the team we saw lose to Texas and then just zombie walk, totally lifeless against USF in a playoff. He's got that team as an SEC champion in the playoff. We're going to be at that game. We're going to be there for a reason, because one way or another, it's going to be a pretty historic outcome out there on New Year's Day. And we get the 2 p.m. local time kickoff out there. So I get the Herb Street Memorial sunset over the San Gabriel Mountains. And then we get to watch Texas and Washington afterwards that night.